Shit, here we go again.
Low, low, man. Low, low,
You like contracts, right? You're a contract guy.
I read contracts instead of conventional pornography, yes.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
What is up, everybody? It is, of course, Andrew Esquire here, Legal Mindset Teacher, your own judge. Good to see everybody. We're back for a live stream. It has been a minute, but it's good to be here. We're going to be talking some H3 today, a little bit of dirty denims, the Reddit mods, and kind of why this motion, which we've seen the Reddit mods lose, we'll get into the ramifications, the justification, but why the court's reasoning really shows us that Denims, who has an upcoming summary judgment motion, is going to get absolutely wrecked and destroyed. We also have something that I don't think anybody else has reviewed yet, is the motion in opposition from Ethan Klein's side, which absolutely destroys Denim's arguments as well. So we're getting all that today. It's going to be a fun one going through documents. It's been a while since I've done a longer document read like this. So, but it'll be fun going through it with all you guys, and hopefully you're having a great one. Also, we have, and I don't actually need this because we don't have any video here, but also Ramsey Khalid Ismail update. So we got a Johnny Somali update after this. Now, I'm not going to spoil it. I want you guys to see it in the video. We have a prison cope letter, which we talk about and get into afterwards, so you guys can just hang out and see that content. Totally different topic from this, but fresh out the gate right after this, you just get sent over to that video for the premiere of that shorter video. I think it's about 8.5 minutes or 8 minutes or so, talking about this prison cope letter, which is absolutely hilarious. So a lot of good stuff here, and a lot of hilarious stuff, a lot of good stuff. But good to see everybody here. Make sure you like the video. I did get hit. So I did have a problem after my David video. I somehow got restricted. So if you don't, this is something checking in. If you haven't checked this out, if you have restricted mode on, which you kind of have to navigate and turn that off manually sometimes YouTube will like turn that on and just kind of like leave that on. Make sure you go and turn that off, because that will actually hide some of my latest videos. They're trying to work on that right now, but it's something that let me show you guys here. You're going to make sure you have it off, or you may not see my videos when they come up. So if you go over here, check this out on the right, restricted mode, right? That can just knock that off and you can get restricted mode there. So yeah, good stuff. All right. So all really good stuff. Okay. So I like how one of my top YouTube videos was 4 hours of German World War II officer to help you focus and study work. I'm sure that's not going to get me canceled. I did not. Anyways, Fallen Hero 4567 says hello, everyone. Mads 12344 says hello from Denmark. Hey, how's it going? All right. Let's go and get into these documents here right away. So what we have first is we have the Reddit mods, and the Reddit mods had a motion essentially to quash subpoenas that they were issued by Ethan Klein. So they wanted to hide, right? So this was essentially a motion to hide, a motion to say that they're going to go through the entire lawsuit as anons, as just Jane Doe, John Doe, etc., and that their real identities would never be revealed even to Ethan Klein, so he wouldn't even know who they are, right? And of course, he's subpoenaing Reddit and Discord. And their arguments, which we'll get into here, were essentially two things. The first was, you need to litigate the entire case right now because of the legal standard, because under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, you have to actually, show fair use before you obtain a DMCA subpoena. So therefore, you need to litigate the entire case right now. And the second one was, we're going to be abnormally harmed by being unmasked. We're going to be people that are going to be, absolutely subjected to the worst crimes against humanity. We're going to be, all the worst things in the world. Those are going to happen to us if we are not anonymous. And somehow we are special and different than everybody else who is sued in court. Now, they didn't give any reason why their identities would be privileged, because there are very limited types of people that will have privileged identities. I mean, one you could think of would be like a minor, right? So if someone was a minor, obviously they can conceal that identity. And there are ways to kind of work around that. But they didn't give any other reason. Just, we're, internet people who don't like being public. Well, spoiler alert, I had said it already. But the judge didn't buy that shit. The judge did not buy that shit at all. By the way, I'm like this comrade mindset. I'm here to serve Soviet legal mindset. Good to see you guys. Privyet to all my my comrades out there. All right. So let's get into the logic here in the motion to quash. And as you're going to see, this logic is going to apply to Denims, to dirty Denims. So let's jump right into this. Okay, so here's the motion to quash. I'm going to get to the relevant parts, but obviously the parties are the Reddit mods and TED Entertainment. But Denims is relevant to this, and Denims is brought up multiple times because one thing they had to show as part of this was that they indeed did have what's called a prima facie case against Denims, meaning there's enough evidence for a basic level case against Denims, and therefore the trial can proceed, things can proceed, subpoenas can be issued. And that is a very, very big finding in this one. Okay, so you've got the parties. Obviously, the complaint was filed by TED Entertainment, that's Ethan Klein, against Denims. And then you've got the separate lawsuits for Casey, Tron, and Frogan. And let's be very clear, by the way, whatever happens to Denims is probably going to tell a very good story on what's going to happen to Frogi Yogi as well. Okay, so in this, they give some background about the content nuke. Obviously, this all goes back to the Hassan Piker content nuke. And, once again, these are all Hassan stans, Hassan's most loyal allies that he quickly abandoned. But the key allegation here is that TED Entertainment further alleges that the moderators of the H3 Snark subreddit comprise does 1 through 10. TED Entertainment states that it does not know the true names or exact locations of the defendants, but provides alleged Reddit and Discord usernames. Ethan Klein alleges that the Doe defendants promoted Denims watch parties as an alternative to TEI's works on the RH3 subreddit. This is very good because what you're going to see, and we're going to get into it in the Denims motions when we get through those, but calling them watch parties. So the court is going to make this distinction between, and also the attorneys for Ethan Klein make this distinction between a watch party and reaction content. So in the division there, and this is in the papers, but I want to get this out here. A react content is something that you play a short clip, you play a piece of something, and you react to it. The key being it's very short, right? And especially in comparison to your overall content, maybe it's just one piece of your overall content, right? A watch party being something where you have a large group of people that are dedicated to take views away from something, right? And it's meant as a substitute, right, for the original thing. And I think that's a very, very, very good distinction, because fair use is all about whether or not something is a market substitute. Now, Denims tries to bury that. Denims tries to hide that, right? But that's a very good extension. And the fact that the court is noting the watch party language means it's very much keyed in on that distinction that they're making between those two types of content. UNSC Frigate Grafton says, illegal mindset stream before bed. Let's go. Let's do it. I've got the comrade voice activated now. Thank you. Rigo92 for 5 says, oh no, the keyboard warriors known as Reddit moderators will have to face accountability. If their names are revealed, the world is doomed. Now, one thing I will say here is that information is going to come out, but slowly, right? Slowly. It's not going to come out tomorrow. It's not, I mean, this happened a couple days ago. We're not going to get their, names and locations and all this other stuff, right off the bat. But that information is eventually coming out, right? It's going to Ethan Klein, and it's going to get into the court proceedings. So that information will get out. Also, Leprechaun Gold, thank you for the $20 super sticker. Very much appreciate you. Very much appreciate everybody here. And by the way, smash the like button if you appreciate the coverage. Let's continue here. On July 16, 2025, TI in the underlying action requested leave to issue subpoenas to Reddit and Discord to obtain personal identifying information of the Doe defendants. So that's names, addresses. The subpoenas seek documents and communications containing the personal identifying information of specific Reddit and Discord users. And that's actually, once again, the biggest thing is being able to get those communications, everything from Reddit and Discord, in order to get that personal information. And this has happened in other cases. This isn't the first case for Reddit or Discord or other platforms to get a subpoena, but it's certainly one of the biggest ones. And it's certainly one that we're going to look at with platforms that, say they're holding you to this anonymous standard, but they're going to be depositioned. They're going to be subpoenaed. That information is going to come out. So I think a lot of people were very confident in hiding on Reddit and hiding on these platforms. But after this, I think things may change. Things may change. Okay, so the first big argument was over the legal standard. So there's two legal standards here. So there's essentially the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Rule 26 and 45. We're going to talk about it as Rule 45. And there's the DMCA. And right here it says, under Rule 26B, permits a party to obtain discovery regarding any non-privileged matter that is relevant to the party's claim or defense, and proportional to the needs of the case, considering the importance of the issues at stake in the action. Then it continues on in Rule 45, a court must protect a non-party subject to a subpoena if the subpoena requires disclosure of a privilege or protected manner, or the subpoena subjects a person to undue burden. It also goes on, the court must also limit the frequency and extent of discovery if it discovers that discovery is cumulative, burdensome, expensive, etc. So as relevant here, Rule 45 provides that the court for the district where compliance is required must quash or modify a subpoena if it fails to allow reasonable time to comply, requires a person to comply beyond the geographical limits specified, or requires disclosure of a privilege or protected matter if no exception or waiver applies or subjects a person to undue burden. So what they were crying about is, it's going to be unduly burdensome for our names to be out there, like every single other party, every single other defendant in any other complaint, saying that that's somehow more difficult on them. So let's see how they kind of divide that up. And what happens with this legal standard is under Rule 45, you do not have to argue fair use first before you rule on the motion. With the DMCA subpoena motion, you have to actually rule on fair use first. So that was what they were saying. They're saying, hey, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act subpoena standard, that's the one that applies. Well, court came down, and let's just get down to it. The court says, well, first of all, there already is a prima facie case of copyright infringement. And this is pretty massive because they're saying, okay, there's enough on the bone here for Ethan Klein. And they say, hey, look, Ethan Klein owned the copyrights, Denims accessed them without any license, authorization, or consent, and she did a group viewing session. So that's enough to proceed. So we're already seeing, okay, the judge is saying we have enough here, right? And they go on to say that they don't need to look at the entire issue of fair use yet. That's going to happen at trial at a future date. They only have to say, is it a basic enough case, a prima facie case, right? Because what fair use is fair use is an affirmative defense, right? It's something you have to raise during trial. It's saying, essentially, fair use is saying, I did it, so what? I did actually use this without a license or authorization. I did it. So what? Here's my affirmative defense. So you have to actually go to trial for that. You got to proceed for that. The Reddit mods were trying to, and Denims are trying to make the whole case get litigated at, essentially what should happen at trial in the pre-trial stages. But the court just threw that out, said, hey, we don't have to do this. This doesn't fall under the DMCA. It actually falls under Rule 45. So it says right here, in contrast, the court does not consider fair use in deciding the instant motion to quash a Rule 45 subpoena. Given the differences between a DMCA and Rule 45 subpoena, the court declines to analyze the defense of fair use in determining whether TEI has made a prima facie case of contributory copyright infringement. Indeed, a motion for partial judgment on the pleadings regarding whether Denims' use of the nuke constituted fair use is pending before the court, and we're going to talk about that one as we get to the next document. Thus, this issue will be litigated fully in another forum. There's no need for the court to address the defense of fair use. So this whole attempt to get the case argued, to have the case argued all up front by the Reddit mods did not work at all whatsoever. Also, the court found that the Reddit mods, which are the Doe defendants, did actually, there's a basic case, a prima facie case, right? The basic elements for a case against the Reddit mods to show they contributed to copyright infringement. Seeing right here, the court concludes that Ethan Klein meets his burden to show a prima facie case of contributory infringement. He owns the copyright. The defendants knew about Denims' group viewing session, and they knew about the planned infringement. TEI does not merely allege these facts, but points to specific evidence that the Reddit mods specifically instructed other viewers to Denims' watch party as an ethical, and I love the parentheses around ethical, as an ethical way to watch TEI's programs. In contrast, the opponents of the Kleins wanted to watch their show but not give them views on YouTube or other streaming platforms that reward content creators based on their number of viewers. It appears the entire purpose of the watch party was to watch TEI's programming in a manner that did not befit TEI. Once again, this is very clear. This is how I know the judge is siding with Ethan Klein. He's using, we talked about watch party, the watch party versus React split. He's using the watch party language. That language was brought up by the attorneys for Ethan Klein. So when a judge is starting to use the language that's proposed by one side, it does not look good for the other side. So in this case, they're just starting to use the language of Ethan Klein. They're speaking the language of Ethan Klein and his attorney. That's how I know Denims is screwed here, because they're just taking the arguments and using that same language in his decisions, right? He's using that watch party analysis there. And one of the biggest arguments, both by Denims and the Reddit mods, is that, oh, well, there's no possible way that somebody who disagrees with your content would ever watch your content. That's one of the, I shit you not. We're going to go to Denim's, motion for summary judgment. They make that argument. That there's nobody out there, who would ever watch your content if they don't like you. Well, I don't think they've seen the internet. I don't think they understand the internet, or they're just being extraordinarily disingenuous. But the good thing is the judge actually gets the internet. This is not a 39 IQ judge.
Fighting monkey とかさ。
This is a high IQ judge, right? This is a very high IQ judge. So the judge says right here, TI's allegations supported by evidence create a prima facie case. Although it may seem counterintuitive that opponents of Klein's will want to watch the Klein's programs, they were engaging in a cultural phenomenon known as hate watching. And then he goes on to cite Urban Dictionary. Glorious, right? The Urban Dictionary defines the term hate watch as follows. A hate watch show is one the viewer generally despises but cannot stop watching. This could be because it's so important they feel they have to, because it has enough promise that they hope it gets better, because it's so well crafted in its terribleness that the badness itself is noteworthy, or because they enjoy the adrenaline that pure revulsion can bring. Whatever the reason, the hate watcher can't look away from the train wreck. Bro, first of all, like, W judge for using Urban Dictionary, bro. But like this judge is locked in. This judge is locked in on this. Absolutely fantastic site there. So, and the judge says it right here. He says, here, the entire purpose of Denims Watch Party was to hate watch TI's works without giving any benefit to TI. There's credible evidence that the Doe defendants understood this goal and facilitated it by encouraging others to watch Denims Watch Party. And one of the big differences, and we're going to see this as well in the Ethan Klein motion in opposition we read later, is they provide evidence, they provide pictures. So they show, hey, no, these guys were really, really trying to divert views. It's very clear, right? These posts are kind of everywhere. Very good. Let me get some of these super chats. We're going to continue. Bad News Badger for 200 Danish krona says, I don't mind eating cold pizza. It's like warm beer, just cold. I'll tell you guys a funny one. I may or may not have fallen asleep last night, and I ordered a pizza, and so I went the entire day today not knowing that I ordered a late night pizza, which is a very bad habit of mine. That's when Legal Mindset gains weight, usually from late night pizza. Okay. Just saying, when chubby mindset is on screen, it's usually because I had a little bit too late night pizza. But I'd gone to get my like breakfast, lunch, getting our very quick delivery here. And I finally come down, it's about dinner time. I'm going to get my dinner, and I see there's a pizza and it's got my room number on it. I'm like, wait a second. What did I do? And I forgot about the pizza, but I ate it. I did not waste it. Do not waste whole pizza. It's still good. The Professor Keen 1911 says, please feed Moodang a cabbage. She's hungry. Moodang's doing great. She's hanging in here today, having a great day. Moodang's absolutely fantastic today. Looking cute. Got her tiara on. Also, the cabbage sale, I believe, is closed right now. It was closed on May 1st, but thanking everybody who did buy a cabbage. We exceeded our goal. So I do appreciate that, and everyone who contributed there to that. It's very fun, and I look forward to hearing from all of you when you get your cabbages later this year. Fellas who said, I'm pretty massive. Thanks for noting. And Mass Shadow, member for 23 months, says, glad to catch a stream before bed this morning. I'm chomping at the bit of this update. This is a good one. This is a really, really good one. Okay, so let's continue. Yeah, it's closed now. I think it's closed now. But that said, you can still, if you want to toss a donation to the Somali conviction team, you can do that on Ko-Fi. Okay, so blew them out of the water with the hate watcher argument. So the hate watcher argument was accepted by the court. So the hate watch argument has been accepted by the court as legitimate reasoning against the Reddit mods. So what this tells me is that same argument will also be accepted by the judge against Denims. And we are going to, I'm going to show you guys, and it's like the lowest IQ lawyering I've seen. Now, okay, I get it. You have to advocate for your client, but it's some bullshit. That you're saying, well, there's no possible reason why this, whatever. It's impractical. Like it's unlikely. There's another language they use. We'll get to that later. It's absolutely silly, Denim's attorneys, but they're making their case for their client. I see what happens. I see it happen. All right. Here's another thing. Okay. The Doe defendants, they say they want to be anonymous because they have other concerns. So there's a test. The court must balance the equities, weighing the potential harm to the party seeking disclosure against the speaker's interest in anonymity in light of the strength of the underlying claim. The Doe defendants argue that the balance of equities weighs in their favor because if unmasked, once again, I love this language, right? Because this language is perfect. Unmasked, because you just imagine them like the Scooby-Doo mystery, where it's just coming off, and very, very, very interesting with the imagery there for these Reddit mods. The Doe defendants will face public exposure, real risks of retaliation, actual harm, and financial and other burdens of defending the action. So they're literally saying being a defendant is dangerous to us. That's what everybody has to deal with all in the US normally, right? That if you're a defendant, a plaintiff, whatever, you have to put your identity is out there. That's how it works. You can't have a lawsuit without that. If you don't know who you're suing, it's really not a lawsuit. And they bring up doxing, et cetera, and stuff like that. So the court goes on to acknowledge Ethan Klein's argument is, hey, we can't proceed with the lawsuit. And the court agrees with Ethan Klein. It says the court concludes that TEI's need for identifying information outweighs the DOE's interest in anonymity. They're defendants in the action, and without information regarding their identities, they can't identify them as defendants and properly serve them with process and ultimately proceed. It's basic logic. The fact that they thought they were going to get out of that was crazy. They also cite a case here, and this is a pretty good one, noting that the identity of an anonymous infringer is materially relevant, if not critical to the claim, because without the information, the plaintiff has no starting point for who to name as a defendant. It's freaking obvious. Busby 61 for 5 says, not sure where you are. I'm in Thailand, but Unsub is talking more and more about Japan, and they're going to meet up with you there if they do. Anything behind the scenes? I have not. I can poke those guys and talk to them if they're going to go to Japan. I'd be happy to meet up with them. It's a 5-hour flight. I go to Japan and Korea all the time, so yeah, that'd be fun. Content creators, I often tell them if they're in Asia, I'll link up with them. I'll be in Korea a lot as we're covering the appeal of Johnny Somali, and I go to Japan a lot as well. To the point where I get stopped by, I go to Japan enough that I always get pulled into secondary, and they're like, you're here an awful lot, because there's people that play games with the visas, other stuff like that. Of course, everything I do is legal. I stay within the limits, etc. But they just ask, okay, why are you here? And when I tell them I'm a YouTuber, they now make sure to mention, don't do any live streaming here. They generally say that, which is very, very interesting. Like, don't live stream here. I'm like, oh, interesting. They're mentioning that. Okay. Leprechaun go for 4. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Code the Fox for 1 says, was it cold pizza or room temperature? I can eat cold pizza, but I did microwave it. Not going to lie. Heated it up. All right. They also asked the Reddit mods for a protective order. Oh, baby wanted a blanket, a little protective order, a little cute protective order. But the court denied that. The court said, nope, you're not getting a protective order. Your identities are going to be exposed. Sorry. However, what they do is this, and this is why I say we're not going to know the identities tomorrow, but we're going to know them maybe eventually. So here's what it says. Until DOE defendants, the Reddit mods, appear in the Central District of California, so until they show up in court, which they will, the court orders the following. Reddit and Discord may respond to the subpoena to Ethan Klein, TEI only. Additionally, no party may disclose the identities of the Reddit mods, Reddit and Discord mods, or any other identifying information about the DOE defendants to any individual or entity not party to this matter. Of course, the district court and the underlying actions may override these protections once the DOE defendants, that's the mods, make their appearance in the action. So what this means is this. If their identity leaks, it's going to be, I mean, unless they did it of their own volition or they leaked it online themselves or they like self-leak, it's going to look bad for Ethan Klein because the subpoena is supposed to go to Ethan Klein. So if the leaks come out, you would assume they're from Ethan Klein because he's the only one who's getting those subpoenas, only getting their names and locations. However, yes, there are other ways for information to leak. They could do some ops or some false flag stuff. But for now, that's the best the judge can do, right? The judge can't prevent all sorts of internet shenanigans, as the internet has a way of doing. But for now, that says, okay, look, just goes to Ethan Klein. So if anything gets out, we know. But once they come to the court, which they're going to have to, and they put their names in the docket and everything else, and all of them sign up, well, at that point, it's a new game. It's a new ball game. So we're going to talk about, we'll get to that when we get to that. And their names will be in there eventually, right? Those names are going to come out. So I do look forward to that. Also, they had asked for attorney's fees. Obviously, as their motion was denied, they didn't get any attorney's fees. So completely blown out of the water on that one. Absolutely glorious. Now, let's get to Denims' motion for summary judgment And once again, we're going to look back on what happened here because that was an order from the court. So the most important thing in these court orders is to get inside the judge's head to say, what is the judge holding? And then you try to apply that to future motions and to other cases, especially in front of the same judge, right? Because if a judge uses reasoning in one place, they're going to use the same reasoning in another. Judges don't want to get appealed. They don't want to get overturned. They try to have very consistent application. So in this case, if they've already applied this to the Reddit mods, that reasoning, it stands to reason it's going to apply exactly that same reasoning to Denims. Tycel, 2004 for 20. Thank you so much. Actually, I'll give you a little JoJo. Thank you for that. Last I heard, one of those mods works for Reddit themselves. Will that affect Reddit company? It could. It could. So we'll see how deep the rabbit hole goes. But if that is indeed confirmed, and if they indeed do work there, there could be some deeper implications for Reddit, possibly. We don't know yet. But is it possible? Very much so. We'll see how likely it is. We'll see whether it's true. We'll see what happens going forward. I think that's a bombshell fact. And obviously, if that comes out, if that identity comes out, that's something that Ethan Klein would be very incentivized to push and to press on. And now is when we may see the heat turn up, especially at Reddit, as they see, okay, these people lost this motion. What's going to happen now? I think they might be sweating inside Reddit HQ. Okay. So here is the motion for summary judgment. So this is in Denim's case. And of course, Denim is just a co-party. It's just a party here, right? Because there's Denims, there's the Doe defendants, which are the Reddit mods. So they're all parties here. They're all defendants here. Okay. So Denims is asking for summary judgment. So she wants this case to be over. And she's saying, Judge, before we go to trial, I'm making an argument that there's no case here, that you have to side in our favor. And once again, you have to always remember that with these motions, such as a motion to dismiss, motion for summary judgment, you're looking in the light most favorable to the non-moving party. That would be Ethan Klein. So even if Denims had made good arguments, which she doesn't, but even if she had, you'd have to look at light most favorable to Ethan. But when you actually look at the arguments, they're just not great. Now, some of them are standard and boring, and I'm going to skip those, but she has some pretty atrocious arguments. She also ignores some pretty clear stuff. So Mickey D666, thank you for the 10 legal mindset memberships. Yes. Let's drop a little emotional cabbage.
Emotional cabbage.
I'm a little bit sad, although you guys will see watching the Johnny Somali video later. I'm a little sad that my haters can't be here to seethe when I get memberships, but it's always good. And by the way, we're keeping on a track for our 2 member streams. If you guys missed the last one, there'll be another one. I'll probably do another one in a week or so. So we try to do 2 every single month, and you get access to really cute emojis, which is also nice. So I have to cook up some new emojis sometime soon. All right. So you got the motion for summary judgment here. So essentially, she's going to argue the grounds for summary judgment bit by bit. These are kind of the 4 factors. So saying, okay, it's fair use because it was transformative, because there was a de minimis commercial nature, which means minimal. It was very informative. The amount used was reasonable and necessary for a commentary. And the last one, which is the biggest cope ever, is that it's not a market substitute. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So let's jump down to the arguments here. And I'm going to get to like some of the parts. So she essentially says, hey, it's transformative because I mentioned stuff that sounds important. So, I mentioned the Uyghurs. I mentioned Chinese authoritarianism. I mentioned the Houthis. I mentioned Hezbollah. I mentioned October 7th. I mentioned Twitch enforcement and moderation. I mentioned Zionism and Judaism. And she comments on production quality, editing, and rhetorical techniques. This is such a big cope, right? It's like, okay, you're commenting on production quality, editing, and rhetorical. What does that mean? You just said this sucks. This is horrible. This is sloppy editing, right? Like that's your real comment. Okay, all right, that's great, Denims. That's so transformative, Denims. So she said, just brings up the fact that the mere mention of those was enough to be transformative. She then goes to say that like having a different purpose. So essentially saying, because I disagree with Ethan Klein, because I have a different point of view, that makes it in and of itself transformative. That's enough by itself. Very interesting. Because that would pretty much openly allow copyright infringement by anyone who disagrees with you. So essentially saying, like, you can infringe on someone's copyright if they disagree with you. Well, to me, one of the things that jumps out about that is that that's probably the top copyright infringers, right? So the people that are going to be most driven to steal your stuff, to steal your IP, to leech off your work are your haters, right? Because your haters are going to want to try to take your money. They're going to want to try to divert funds from you like that. They're the most motivated to do that. So that would essentially be a massive win for haters all around the internet. If they're able to just unlimited take anything automatically just because they disagree with you. And that gives them a pass to do whatever they want with your stuff. That's not really how it works, right? That's not how it works. All right. Get back to this. Okay, then I talk about how the commercial nature was de minimis, which means minimal. So saying, hey, it was minimal. And they try to play off the paid subscriptions, donations, and advertising revenue. And I shit you not, ladies and gentlemen, this argument is one of the dumbest arguments I have heard on the internet, or it's about from an internet streamer, but put into court, right? So this is one of the dumbest things I've seen, but right on time though. Although this is very dumb, Tankrat 6 dropping 50 legal mindset memberships is indeed not dumb, but in fact,
Not as in, I cannot absolve you. Mega-based.
Giga-based. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that very much. Say thank you to Tankrat if you receive one of those 50 legal mindset memberships. Please say thank you. And thank you, Tankrat, for being a longtime OG to the channel. Appreciate you, bro, and hope you're doing well. All right. So here's this low IQ argument. In any event, the commercial aspects of Denims' live stream were incidental at best. Denims is a live streamer. That is her job. She is always eligible to receive subscriptions, donations, and advertising revenue during her Twitch broadcasts, regardless of content. Let's stop there. So it essentially says that Denims viewers are such brain-dead simps that they are just smashing the donate button like Grog donate, no matter what she does. Like, I don't get it. I mean, hold on. In honor of InfoWars going off of jail, I'll play this off the air. I'll play this clip.
Here's the thing.
Fine. Listen,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
Now I'm pretty dumb, and I can be dumb sometimes, but I'm not dumb enough to get this argument that it doesn't matter what content you do. Any streamer who's been on the internet, who's done anything, anybody who's posted any content anywhere online knows that not all content gets the same views. Not all content gets the same subscriptions. Not all content gets the same super chats. I will do 10 different streams and all 10 will get different levels of donations, different levels of memberships, different levels of subscriptions. What? Are you kidding me? And we're going to see in the motion that was filed by Ethan Klein in opposition, they bring the Carfax and show, in fact, she got a ton more viewers when she was actually watching the content nuke. The second she turned it off, they dumped. Now, I know what people are going to say. She could have been botting. It could have been whatever. Yeah, those are potential arguments you make at trial, right? But it just dropped off like a cliff after she finished watching the content nuke. Also, Mass Shadow for 10 Legal Mindset memberships. Very based. Thank you so much. Yes. Okay. Let's get to the second part here. The revenue Denims is alleged to be eligible to receive from the reaction live stream was a byproduct of the platform on which she regularly broadcasts, and not the direct product of exploiting the nuke. Objection. So essentially, I really think they're counting on a judge here that doesn't know anything about platforms or streaming or the internet. I think they're counting on like a boomer judge. No offense, and some boomers out there, you guys know the internet better than I do. But they're counting on a judge that was just internet ignorant. And I think the thing is, as we go on, those type of judges are like dinosaurs. They're going extinct, right? Right. I mean, the time at which you could get a judge who knew nothing about the internet was like, well, let's turn on that magical tube box thing. That's kind of going away. And to try to pretend that the platform just gives people money by just, existing regardless of performance, regardless of views, right? That's extraordinarily disingenuous, dishonest. And it would really assume that the judge does not know how streaming works at all. Because anybody who knows anything about streaming knows that, that's ads. Ad revenue is based on views. That's just very well known. Very easy to find. You can type that into Google. It's not like a top secret. It's not a state secret that views lead to advertising, leads to money, right? And that is true. Boomers did build the internet. I love boomers too. Also, JD Straight Shot 42069 for 2. Okay, I think you want me to say this in the Kino voice. She's broke. She's prima facie. She's infringed. I got you. Hopefully, Jared doesn't strike me for that. Oh boy. Okay. All right. A little quartering humor goes a long way. All right. So that was a horrible argument. Very horrible argument. And she goes on to make another one. Let me find this one here for you guys, which was to me hilarious. First of all, she does argue here, and I'll mention this one, that she did react to it for a significant period of time, saying she paused 211 times and she had 2 hours of commentary, whereas the nuke was 1 hour and 43. Right? So that's one of her arguments. But what she doesn't pull in the distinction of, and what the judge does pull in the distinction of, is not the fact that you reacted or not. Like, that isn't necessarily the argument that the judge is latching onto. Whether, like, did you react or did you just like leave it playing? Like, essentially what Denims is trying to argue is, well, I didn't leave it playing 100% of the time. So because I reacted to it to some degree, I'm immune. The judge doesn't like that. The judge prefers using the watch party. Were you using it in a way as a part of a watch party to divert revenue and divert views, right? He doesn't care that, okay, you added an hour to it or 2 hours, whatever. It's you were doing it as a watch party. A watch party can still add commentary to it. In fact, that's what people do. People have done that for the longest time. I used to go back in the day, well, I guess this is questionably legal, but listen, I didn't ask people whether they had an HBO subscription when we were watching Game of Thrones together, okay? Because I know a lot back, we all know, most pirated show out there. I didn't ask. I just sat back and enjoyed the dragons until it got really stupid at the end. Season 8 was horrible. But you go to these watch parties, like when I would go watch Game of Thrones, and people would love to comment. That was part of it. And you kind of had a divide between the people that really like commenting during TV shows, movies, etc., and the people that just want you to shut up and not say anything. There's kind of a big split there. It's like bifurcation. I can go either way. But if I've seen it once, I like to add some commentary into it. That said, the judge doesn't like watch parties and likes the distinction between React content and watch party. And watch party in his mind is not favorable. Right? Okay. Let's see. There's one more. Okay, this is the last section, the really big one. This is the elephant in the room. This is the thing that kills Denim's case, and this is the thing. If she can't get around it, she's done. She's cooked. Is it a market substitute? The whole point of this entire doctrine is to prevent things from becoming a market substitute. And the most damning thing that she did was say, come here and watch it instead of going there. Don't give him views. Deny him views. She doesn't address or handle those comments at all in this section. And that's the thing you've got to do as a attorney. You've got to take your opponent's strongest arguments and you've got to debunk them. She doesn't do that at all. She doesn't at all get around her comments. They just make the most ridiculous, evidence-less arguments in this section. And this judge has said time and time again, if you go to the Reddit, the one about Reddit, the judge has said time and time again, show me the evidence. And all they do is this. And this is hilarious. And I couldn't believe they did this. Okay, here we go. So Ethan Klein alleges Denims intended or succeeded to provide a market substitute for the nuke, pointing to vague statements by Denims reviewers suggesting they watched the live stream in lieu. It wasn't vague at all. It was first of all, this is bullshit. Vague statements by Denims, bro. Like,
You are coping the ceiling.
Sorry, it was not vague at all. That's the biggest cope ever. She actually said it very directly. It was 100% blatant. So trying to paint this as a vague statement is you're just lying to the court. You're just straight up lying to the judge, and you're like insulting the judge. You're like, judge, we're taking. Do you think the judge is retarded? Like, what do you think's going on? Like, what's going on? Like. Oh, man. Oh, it's so stupid. It's so dumb. Okay. All right. So, Ethan Klein points to the timing, lost views, ad revenue. And here's the argument that they make. Here, Denim's live stream cannot plausibly serve as a market substitute. Anyone seeking to watch the nuke, a scripted, edited 1 hour 42 documentary presenting a linear argument, would have a totally different experience from watching Denim's nearly 4 hour fragmented start and stop live stream, which featured relentless I love it. Like he's kissing her ass at the same time. It's so cringe. Spontaneous reaction, live chat interaction, tangential discussions, extrinsic source material, and critical commentary. He is putting lipstick on a pig. This attorney is taking dirty Denims, showering her off, putting lipstick on her, but she's still dirty Denims. And we all know what dirty Denims did, right? Which is say this is a market substitute, right? She straight up said that. And all he's got here is just this argument. Like it's not plausible. There's no plausible way. Well, guess what, bro? The judge cited Urban Dictionary and hate watching in the Reddit decision. That shows you this argument is going to get blown out of the water by the judge when he comes to rule on this. There's no way. It's not possible. Totally different, right? And they go on here. They say, moreover, the audiences for two works are not coextensive. It is flatly implausible. Oh, it's implausible that viewers who tune in for a live rebuttal content might be the same or overlap with the constituency who seek the original documentary, particularly given the polarity of both the content. Ethan Klein acknowledges Denim's live stream targeted a fundamentally different audience that was interested in criticism of the dude. The concession flies in the face of lost views and ad revenue, which is simply implausible. and the court should disregard as conclusory and devoid of facts. The only thing conclusory and devoid of facts is literally their argument. This is the biggest legal projection I have seen, right? The guy thinks he can throw out the word implausible multiple times, right? Like it's his favorite word. This guy is like Captain Implausible. It's flatly implausible. Simply implausible, right? Guy needs a thesaurus, okay? That said, that argument is going to be a massive, massive, massive loser. So here, I want to show you guys the motion that was filed in opposition by the attorneys for TED Entertainment. That's Ron Barnissim. And they absolutely wreck Denims in their response. And let me get these super chats before we get there. Panthera1115, member for 29 months. So base. I've been watching since Disney and Reedy Creek. What? Awesome. Smash the like button, guys. Make sure you share the video, like this stuff, because it helps get it out there. And appreciate that. And, I'm looking for if there's any updates on Disney and Reedy Creek. If there ever are, I'll do one, for old time's sake. But there's a lot of topics to cover nowadays. I've been very busy. Looks like Denims is reaching for straws to defend herself. IRL nuisance streamers need to be more careful. The law is catching up. Yes. And I love covering those guys because they are IRL nuisance streamers are literally the star witnesses in their own criminal trials or civil trials, whatever. Like in court, you just have to play their video and that's it. It's over. They're cooked. And we all know they're cooked because you see it ahead of time. The only thing is, okay, are they charged for those crimes, right? Do they try to get away? Do they manage to get away? But thankfully, more and more of them are getting caught. Reb says Denims might be taking a page from RKI. Seriously. James LBN gifted 5 legal mindset memberships. Thank you so much. Yes. Mikey D66 says Denims has huffed half the planetary supply of copium. She is maximum copium here. Okay. So let's get to some of the arguments here. We're not going to go through the whole thing because I've already made some of the arguments. But you can see here they kind of destroy. Once again, this is Ethan Klein's attorney. The central question is not if Denims commented on the nuke, but whether the extent was sufficient to justify commercially exploiting it in its entirety. Denims cannot dispute that she commercially exploited the nuke immediately upon its release. Such use presents the greatest threat to the core concern of fair use, substitution. Public interest in the nuke was at its apex immediately before release. Consequently, any authorized exploitation at the time posed the greatest risk of siphoning demand away from the original into a secondary user. That was really good. And let me go down here. Here we go. Denims' statements demonstrating her purpose was to siphon views away from the nuke to herself include telling a chatter, if you want to enjoy it, come join the watch party somewhere else. So her own language. So here's the thing. This watch party distinction, it's also drawing back to Denims' own language. So this is a beautiful way to make the distinction between, okay, we're saying React content's fair, watch party's not okay, right? It goes back to her own language. It's perfect in a legal sense. He keeps on going, we're relying on you to stay alive so we don't give more views to the nuke. Continuing, if you enjoy not giving views to that terrible video, subscribe, throw a prime. And if you like the content, if you enjoyed your time here, all those people didn't want to give the video another view, which is why they watched it with her. So pretty clear statements there from Denims. Once again, she does not address those at all. At all. They also go on to provide some other evidence. Let me get to this here, which I think was pretty good. Here we go. About the H3 snark mods, right? So saying the posts by the H3 snark mods show they've offered Denims' watch party as a substitute for watching the nuke itself. It drove an unprecedented number of viewers to her stream, along with other individuals on the list who hosted similar watch parties. Denims' chat dispels any doubt that they viewed her watch party of the nuke as a substitute for the original. Below are screenshots of a few examples. So right here it says, Denims, I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being willing to sabotage your own algo so we can rob him of 400,000 views by you streaming it to us instead. Chat, make sure you only watch the content nuke on a stream. Don't give Ethan engagement for this. It's what he wants. Continuing, I appreciate you watching it so long as I don't have to give Ethan a view to watch it implode. It would be funny as fuck if his nuke lost initial views because people did the reactions to it today. Chat, watch it with Denims. Don't try to watch it on your own. Please don't give him views. Don't watch it on H3's channel. Don't give him views. Right there. Thank you for any way to cringe at it without feeding it a view. Thank you for helping us avoid the sin of giving Ethan views. Did I miss something? Are you normally at 39K viewers on your stream? So her audience went up to 40K concurrent viewers, right? 40K on Denims, 9-hour stream. What's going on here? What's with 40K viewers? And then after they stop playing it, it drops. Instant drop to 8K viewers, right? Maybe it wasn't view bots. The view count fell back to 7K straight after. So the facts are there. Denims knew this stuff. And Denims completely, dishonestly, once again, dirty Denims, she's not beyond lying. Denims will lie about anything. She'll change her opinion, whatever, and her lawyer reflects that, right? Denims pretends like all the content gives the same views, and it doesn't matter. That's not true. 40K to 7? Yeah, buddy. And that 7 is usually lingering even higher than it would be if it was just a regular stream, right? So normally maybe you'd have a lower amount if it's more boring content, but that 40K was the exciting content. And that's how it works. When you have exciting content, when you're going over really hot stuff, like when I'm going over the Johnny Somali case, whatever, yeah, I get 10, 20K people watching. Okay, that's how it happens. But there's a revenue component of that. There's a clear ad revenue component of that. That's how the platforms work. And Denims trying to deny that is just going to look stupid. I mean, it really is. So this closing argument, I want to read this here, is a good way to kind of close out this document. But Denims' arguments against market harm are essentially never mind the man behind the green curtain, obviously Wizard of Oz reference there. She asked this court to ignore the statement she made evidencing her purpose to siphon views away from the nuke, that streaming the nuke immediately after its release successfully achieved its purpose, that H3 snarkers wanted to view a pirated version of the nuke, which she provided, and statements from her chat demonstrating they viewed Denims' watch party as a substitute for the original, and other individuals engaged in the same conduct. Denims cannot hand-wave these facts as conclusory and implausible. I love lawyers when they get bitchy and they throw the words back, because the other guy is Captain Implausible, so he puts back implausible here in quotes. That's the type of snark I like, is the lawyer snark. She must confront the fact that she successfully achieved her purpose to siphon views away from the nuke. Denims' remaining arguments are equally frivolous. The fact that her watch party was on an interactive chat-centric platform does not create a fundamentally different viewing experience. I love that. Denims is not a special child because she streams on Twitch. Being on Twitch instead of on YouTube does not make you magically different, right? Just because Dan Clancy is under the table with 2 gimps. Yeah, we're talking about that Morgue Pie. I mean, the Morgue Pie stuff is getting ridiculous, right? Just because you got Dan Clancy's GIMP time streaming over there on Twitch doesn't mean it's fundamentally different, right? I mean, like, it doesn't change anything fundamentally about it. So absolutely agreeing with what was filed by Ethan Klein's lawyers there. I anticipate this motion for summary judgment that Denims made will be denied. So the Reddit mods have been denied. Denims is getting denied, right? Both of them are getting denied. One of them we know, the other one, it's coming. I know it. It's happening. The reasoning from the Reddit mods motion to quash, it just lines up too squarely with the denial. I mean, that the logic would be conflicting if they were to grant summary judgment kind of on that same basis with that same notion. So I see this very much being denied. I see this very much proceeding to trial. I don't think this is something they're going to let go at summary judgment in this case. Don't see it happening. Let me get this one. Germ70 says, should have just used the Chewbacca defense. It's implausible that a Wookiee would want to live amongst Ewoks. Utterly implausible. I know. We're gold gifting a $50 super sticker. Thank you so much. Yes. Very, very kind of you guys. Thank you, everybody, for all your kind support. You guys are always the best, and I appreciate and love all you guys. It's been great to be streaming here and be on this with you. But right now, Do not go anywhere. We have a brand new info on Ramzi Khalid Ismail. Stay tuned. This should redirect you, if YouTube works correctly, right into a Johnny Somali video that is starting right now. So stay tuned for that. Hang around. I'll be back in the next couple days with another stream. Until then, peace, take care, and don't be coping and seething.
You are coping and seething. You just can't believe what you're seeing. It's you coping and seething. The truth it is all day, and now you are molding.